Please join me in welcoming Mr. Douglas Bryce, Joint Program Executive Officer for Chemical, Biological, Radiological, and Nuclear Defense.
Hey, good morning. I think it's still morning. Yeah, it's good morning. So I want to talk a little bit about the concept that is here today, EdTech search, and things that we are doing with small businesses in the Army, right? And trying to get what I call investing in tomorrow. We are transforming the Army to win in today's great power competition by modernizing who we are, how we fight, and what we fight with. Protecting the joint force through innovation and collaboration is a key aspect. And collaborating and engaging with small businesses allows for a better understanding of the spectrum of technologies and that what can be developed commercially and may benefit us in the military later on. And it will protect the joint force. It is extremely important that we use innovators to the extent possible. So what I also wanted to talk about is non-traditional partners. And so in order to do non-traditional partners, we have to look at innovative ways of getting a hold of them. Those non-traditionals don't normally deal with FAR contracting. And so it's been my experience over the last many years that companies are sometimes reluctant to deal with us in the department because of the contracting mechanisms that we have. So Congress has been very kind to us and has allowed other transactions to flow into how do we do experimentation, how do we get to non-traditionals, how do we bring partners to the Department of Defense and to the Army that will bring their technology in, and they don't have the barriers that you find with FAR contracting. So it's a huge advantage for what we've for our future that we can do other transaction authorities. So we hope that all the small businesses, if you're a large business, you should find some because they are very innovative. They have the minds that get us the next generation technology. And I'll say revolution versus evolution. It is time for us to do revolutionary things with technology instead of evolutionary. And I think you're seeing the Army move in that direction. I'm going to give you some examples of things that we have done and some things that we use in the Joint Program Executive Office to further our non-traditional customers or non-traditional partners so that we can develop leading edge and cutting edge technology for chemical and biological, radiological, and nuclear. It all fits into the Army's big picture. It's data gathering through sensors, through protection, through cleanup, and then making sure that commanders have space to make decisions. So it's almost a repetitive theme. Everyone that would get up would tell you, our goal is to make sure that commanders have the information they need to fight and win on tomorrow's battlefield. And that if we can do that, we have accomplished something what I call revolutionary versus evolutionary. It's not that the things that we have today don't work, but I think after 18 years of working in a specific environment of war, we've had our near-peer competitors actually investing in how to defeat our systems and to defeat us. So it's time for us to quickly catch up and get to that where the competition is fierce amongst all of us. So since I am a JPEO person and I do Chem Bio Rad Nuke, I want to talk about some of the things that we have done with small businesses. And we actually charge our large businesses that if they want to work with us, you have to bring small business with you so that we can go find some innovators. We also do OTAs. I have two consortiums. So in my business, we do medical and we do hardware and software. So in that, we have two consortiums. One does medical and the other one does hardware and software, of course. But those two consortiums, we are currently at about, each one of them add up to a little over 300 partners. And that's a lot of partners to compete our work, just in ChemBio. But what it does tell you is that, so companies are out there that are non-traditional and traditional that want to still work and want to do the things that we need to do in our areas of expertise. And we need that kind of participation in order to get us where we need to go in the Army. So fighting and winning in the Army is the biggest thing, and one of the environments is ChemBio. So we have put together those two OTAs, and I can give you a couple of examples where we've used small business. If you wanted to clean up after a chemical or a biological hazard, we had a company that's had a patent, and they're a very small business. But their patent was, how do I take things and I merge them into a sprayer, and that could eliminate the hazard while you're spraying it, and therefore making time relevant. So speed was what we were looking for. How do I get rid of the contamination as quickly as possible? And so this company, IntelliGuard, out in Colorado, has the patent, and they brought us a couple of inventions that we have currently put into Korea. And so Korea has been using them, has tested them, and has asked for more. So we are in the process of making the program of record look like those types of items. So that's one of the examples. In the medical world, we have taken commercial diagnostics. So if you go to the hospital and you want to get find out what's wrong with you, normally they do some type of blood draw and diagnostics, right? And so our goal was to build something that you could use every day for a sick person, but it also did our ChemBio. So we went out and found another company that a couple of years ago, or a few years ago, during Ebola. And so during Ebola, we used this commercial company to do what we call assays for our business. But they also do assays for all the sicknesses that you would find in a normal hospital. You want to check about the flu, you want to, all those things they also did. We combined that system and put it together so that every day the system is being used by soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines. Not so much the Marines, sailors for the Marines. But then how do we then, if you had a ChemBio incident, how could you use it? And the same people can use the system. That's a way to, so we didn't have something that sits on a shelf and you only pull it off when you need it, in break glass when needed in a ChemBio environment. So those are the examples of some of the things that we have done with our innovators and commercially. And oh, by the way, you'll find them, this assays, you'll find them everywhere. In hospitals around the U.S., they're everywhere. The CDC has them, Center for Disease Control. A lot of places now have them, and they were the ones that were used during the old Ebola crisis and the newest one. So they're being used every single day, and they're not necessarily used by DOD. So it is DOD, but there's others that are using it as well. So that's a perfect example of how we took something that is very small and proliferated it into both the commercial and to the DOD market. And in this case, the Army is going to benefit tremendously in the medical arena. Some of the other things that we have done is a high mobility system And that again was the small innovator that has taken their patent and put it together. So what I'm trying to say is it's important that we, as a Department of Defense and as the Army, we look to these small companies that do innovation and we bring them on. And we bring them with, if we have to, by ourselves, or if we can pair them up with larger companies that are doing other things with the Army to help them get that technology in so that we can revolutionize versus the evolution of products. So with that, I mean, I could give you a lot more, but if there is somebody that might have a question, I'd be more than happy to try to answer it about small business, or we can adjourn early. So anybody got a question that you would like to ask about what we do, how we do it? Small business, doesn't have to be chem bio. If you're interested in our ratio, it's over 30%. So everything that we do, we meet all of the goals and exceed them, because that's where we think innovation is at. Any other? Well, thank you all very much for coming and being a part of it. And again, Army strong, and hopefully you'll be able to find a way to work with the Army and coming up with new innovative ways to fight and win the war. Thank you all very much.